So Chuck Schumer just announced on the Senate floor that next week the articles of impeachment for Donald Trump are coming from the House to the Senate. But when he announced it, he had a pretty unfortunate slip of the tongue, and I gotta play it for you guys.
Fair trial, but make no mistake, there will be a trial, and when that trial ends, senators will have to decide if they believe Donald John Trump incited the insurrection against the United States. Now, over the course of elections in November and January, the American people chose to retire 4 Republican senators and elect a Democratic majority to this Senate. The Senate must now take the basic step of passing an organ.
Look, guys, we all need a good laugh. Politics can be so stressful. I think that's just a really funny moment. And honestly, I can totally see how the word insurrection turns into that so easily. And so we can all have a good laugh. But I'm going to be honest. This was a good moment from Chuck Schumer. And I've been, reluctant to criticize leaders of the Democratic Party because I feel they're far too timid and they're far too neoliberal for my taste. But Schumer does a good job here, and he also does a good job later on, and we'll talk about it, in opposing Mitch McConnell's effort to continue to insist that he gets to write the rules for the Senate because he's not Senate Majority Leader anymore. So, right here, Chuck Schumer does a great job. He says, look, the trial's coming. Donald John Trump, he's going to be on trial, and we all have to decide if we're going to let him get away with what he did and what his supporters did on his behalf. And I think that's a great way of putting it because it's really putting Republicans on the spot. Democrats know how they're going to go on this. They know where their base is. They know where the average person is. They want Trump impeached. They want Trump gone. He is gone. And they know that what Trump did was wrong and what Trump supporters did was wrong. But for Republicans and their base, they largely still support the president. So you're really making Republicans take a clear choice. Do you stand with Donald Trump and his thugs' attack on democracy, or do you stand with the American people and with democracy and with, words and not fists determining political debates? Like, that's what you're asking Republicans to do. And I think that making them have this vote is crucial. There's a reason why Republicans are all like, no, don't bring this to the Senate, the unity of the country. They don't believe that for a second. Republicans are always bad faith actors in American politics. They really are, even more than the Democrats. Really, I don't think any reasonable person can disagree with that. And so they're not doing it because of unity. They're doing it because they don't want to have to vote on it. The senators don't want to have to pick a side. They don't want to have to tear apart their chances of re-election. Because if you're in a purple state, or if you're a Republican in a blue-leaning state and you're a Republican senator, you know that you're trapped. Your own base is going to be furious at you if you vote to impeach, but if you don't vote to impeach, the Democratic-type swing voters that made you a senator may turn on you because a majority of the American public, meaning more than just the amount of people that voted Democrat, support, consequences for Trump and his cronies. But more than that, I think this was an important moment, honestly, to see Chuck Schumer reject Mitch McConnell's effort to try to run the show. Because Mitch McConnell seems to think he's still majority leader. And he, for instance, wanted Chuck Schumer to give a no-limit 2-year agreement to preserve the 60-vote filibuster. Meaning nothing, whether it's appointments or whether it's legislation, could get through the Senate with 60 votes, without those 60 votes. So if you had 59 votes, nothing could get done, right? Whereas the filibuster in other times, sometimes it's preserved and sometimes it's overridden for special votes, which is what Mitch McConnell did when he was Senate Majority Leader. And I think that's important that Mitch McConnell was rebuked there because he's not the leader anymore.
We have offered to abide by the same agreement the last time there was a 50 Senate. What's fair is fair. That is precedent. We could organize the Senate today if both sides agreed to abide by the same rules as last time. The Republican leader, however, has made an extraneous demand that would place additional constraints on the majority, constraints that have never been in place before. In fact, his proposal would remove a tool that the Republican leader himself used twice in just the last Congress to accelerate the confirmation of Republican nominees. Leader McConnell's proposal is unacceptable, and it won't be accepted. And the Republican leader knew that when he first proposed it. Only 2 days ago, Mr. President, we celebrated the inauguration of a new president and the turning over of a new leaf. The American people want us to work together and move past the meaningless political fights and gridlock that have plagued us for too long. It's time to get to work. The first step is for the Republican caucus to agree to follow the same precedent that governed the Senate last time around.
And I'm honestly shocked. I'm honestly a little bit shocked that Mitch McConnell didn't get his way, that Chuck Schumer didn't just roll over for Mitch McConnell. I'm actually a little flabbergasted. Now, this doesn't mean the filibuster is necessarily going to go away. People like Joe Manchin, for instance, the conservative Democrat, has said that he agreed that Mitch McConnell shouldn't get his way on the rules, that Chuck Schumer was right to put his foot down and say, look, we're not going to sign a piece of paper that, unilaterally disarms us for the next 2 years. But Joe Manchin and other conservative Democrats have said that they still want to keep the filibuster. Ultimately, the filibuster will be a major stumbling block. But at the very least, Chuck Schumer did not, on day 2 of his Senate majority leadership, give the whole chicken coop away. And that's somewhat encouraging. It really is. Now, one fear I still have is that even if he hasn't given everything away, the Democrats can be very tactical with how they use the filibuster. And one thing I've noted on this channel from Biden and Pelosi and Schumer is that they love when the Republicans stop the Democrats from doing things, because it allows them to avoid passing progressive policy without having to actually block it themselves. When they can rely on the filibuster, they can say, look, we wanted to get this good progressive policy passed, but, gosh darn it, the filibuster was there and we couldn't do it. We even got Joe Manchin on this one, but we needed 60. We could only get 50. And, Kamala Harris's tie-breaking vote doesn't matter there. So we just couldn't get it done. And so I think there's still an element of that. But I am encouraged by the fact that given the chance, Chuck Schumer did not immediately roll over. Maybe he's erecting a sense of a spine, and maybe the Democrats are actually going to fight a little bit harder than they did back in 2008.